Long story short, my girlfriend and I have been living together for around 10 months. When she first moved in, she insisted on paying rent, and I was reluctant to charge her if it didn't work out. But she forced it and paid a month. Then I found out she's struggling for money, unable to pay for things, is in a lot of debt, and lives month to month. She agreed with me that she'd start when she clears the debt. Fast forward to Christmas. I find out she's been stealing my clothes to give to her family as gifts. Another post on here. She lied for 2 weeks, blaming me until I showed her footage of her taking the things from the camera in the living room to watch the dog when I'm out. I later then discover through letters and texts I've seen appear on her phone. She's been doing nothing to pay any of it off, so I confront her. She tells me and shows me messages that her mother and sisters constantly guilt trip her into giving them money, and have for years. They'll message her on payday asking for it, and she feels bad saying no, despite none of them ever paying it back. Her mom alone owes her over £6,000. She has taken a ton of loans out for her family, and they leave her with the debt and don't pay it back. Luckily, her credit is now at the point where nobody will loan to her, but she still tries and does it for them. I also find out I went through her finances. Yes, I shouldn't have, but something wasn't adding up and I was being lied to. That in the space of 20 minutes, she spent £300 on gambling sites. All during this time, she isn't paying a penny towards rent, bills, anything. She'll occasionally buy food shopping or trips out to Starbucks. I tell her enough is enough, and she needs to start paying her way. If she can give handouts to her family and gamble, she can pay for where she lives. And she's taken me for a ride when she should have been saving and clearing debts. I make roughly 5 times what she does, but I've been fair in that the bills are split proportionally to income. She'll earn £1,400 per month and pays £600, which includes rent and her share of the bills. I take on the rest, which is substantially more, but I believe it's not fair to take more. On the 1st of this month, she tells me she can't pay rent. She says she's paid out too much on our trips to Starbucks, food shopping, and I'll get it when I get it. But she doesn't understand why I need it this month, when she's lived for free the past 9 months anyway. I've asked her to explain where her money has exactly gone, but she tells me I'm controlling and it's none of my business. In fairness, she will pay when we go food shopping, but rarely in comparison to me. I've kicked her out as of yesterday and told her she needs to find somewhere to live. She is, however, pregnant, and she's using that card as a way to guilt trip me and make out I've thrown her and my child onto the streets. In my opinion, she is taking me for a ride and prioritizing her family that is using her over her own family she's started. What's the solution here to getting her to see she's not treating me fairly? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I don't think you are wrong for hitting your breaking point after all this time, but in her eyes, she got away with it for so long. You let her bad behavior and spending habits go for so long that she doesn't see why things should change now. And if she doesn't want to change, she will not change. Also, I'm not sure she is still your girlfriend if you kick her out of your house. I'm not familiar with UK law, but in the US, I would recommend retaining a lawyer to help you sort out custody when the baby is born. I would save any evidence you have of her bad spending habits and provide it to the lawyer as well. Comment 2. Sorry that you are in this situation, and not surprised you have had enough of her shenanigans. From the 2nd month, she deceived you by claiming she was paying down her debts. Lies, lies, lies. Then her mom encouraged her to steal from you. The girl comes from an unfortunate background, and if that baby is also your baby, you will be having to deal with her and them for years to come. You might as well go ahead and find a lawyer to help you establish paternity and visitation custody after the baby is born. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. So, after I kicked her out, things went from bad to worse. She moved in with her sister, and I thought maybe this would be a wake-up call. But no, she called me crying, saying she had nowhere else to go. Her sister was kicking her out too. I felt for her, I really did, but I stood my ground. I told her she needed to sort out her finances and her priorities before we could even think about living together again. Then, out of the blue, her mom calls me. She's never called me before, so I knew it was serious. She tells me my girlfriend is in the hospital. She'd had a miscarriage. I was floored. I didn't know what to feel. Guilt, anger, sadness, it was all there. I rushed to the hospital, and there she was, looking so small and lost in the hospital bed. It hit me then. How much she was struggling with everything, not just money. We talked, and she confessed everything. The gambling wasn't just a one-off. It was an addiction. She'd been hiding it for years, and the stress of her family's demands and our situation had made it worse. She was ashamed, and I could see it in her eyes. She promised to get help, to go to therapy and attend meetings. I wanted to believe her, but I'd heard promises before. A week later, she came to me with a plan. She'd sell her car, cut off her family financially, and focus on getting better. It was a good plan, but I was skeptical. Then she did something I never expected. She handed me her phone and said, "Change the passwords. Keep it until I'm better." It was a small gesture, but it meant she was serious. Things were looking up, or so I thought. I helped her move into a small flat, and she started her therapy. But then, her sister showed up at my door, furious. She accused me of abandoning my girlfriend, of causing the miscarriage, with the stress of kicking her out. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She threatened to take me to court, to make me pay for what I'd done. I was angry, tired of being walked all over, of being blamed for everything. I told her to go ahead, that I had proof of everything, the gambling, the financial mess, everything. She left, but the threat hung over me. Then, another news. My girlfriend's mother was diagnosed with cancer. It was bad, and suddenly, all the money issues seemed trivial. My girlfriend was devastated, and I found myself supporting her through it, driving her to the hospital, helping with bills. It was like we were a team again, facing this new challenge together. But life has a way of testing you. Just when things were settling down, I got a letter in the mail. It was from a solicitor representing her sister. She was suing me for emotional distress on behalf of my girlfriend. It was ridiculous, but it was also real. I was being dragged into a legal battle I wanted no part of. I hired a solicitor and we fought it. It was draining, both emotionally and financially, but I couldn't let it go. I couldn't let her sister win, to make me out to be the villain in all this. The case dragged on, but eventually it was dismissed. There was no evidence, no case. It was over, but the damage was done. My girlfriend and I were trying to rebuild, and she's still in therapy, still fighting her addiction. Her mother's cancer is in remission, and there's hope there. We're not living together, not yet, but we're talking, really talking for the first time in a long time. It's not a happy ending, not yet, but it's a start, and after everything that's happened, that's something. Thanks for reading. My husband accuses me of cheating because he can't keep up with my intimacy drive. So I book a solo trip to Paris and leave him questioning his manhood. My situation is a little different than most. I, 23-year-old female, have a much higher intimacy drive than my husband, 25-year-old male. We've been married for less than a year and were virgins before marriage. Our honeymoon was amazing. We had intimacy every day, multiple times a day. I had my very first orgasms with him. I was beyond excited to continue life like this since I'd never experienced it before. As soon as our honeymoon ended, it became obvious that it was not going to stay that way. My husband prefers to have intimacy once every 1 to 2 weeks. I have found that I want intimacy almost every day, but I often wish we could even make time for it 3 or 4 times a week. When I say intimacy, I don't just mean penile vaginal intercourse. I mean any kind of intimacy act, including making out, dry humping, oral, using hands, using toys, whatever. I don't care what method we use. I just crave intimacy attention from him. And I just want to feel desired. I don't feel that way, though. He is very apathetic about intimacy, not really caring if we go a month without it, and looks at me like I'm crazy when I bring it up too much. It's really starting to affect my self-esteem. I've tried everything I can think of. I've bought lingerie, intimacy toys, games, and books about intimacy. I have suggested role play, new positions, BDSM, costumes, filming, photographing each other. Anything. I suggested that we schedule intimacy, but he always makes excuses or other plans anyway. He isn't interested in changing our current routine. I've expressed to him my feelings, and how it's driving me insane going for so long without any sort of intimacy attention from him. He won't even touch my breasts, but playfully like most guys do, to their girlfriends/wives. I asked him what he suggests we do, and he doesn't know. He says he thinks I'm gorgeous, hot, beautiful, and that it has nothing to do with my appearance. Note: my appearance has not changed since we got married. I have neither gained nor lost weight, and I am a healthy 101 pounds. He just honestly thinks his intimacy drive has decreased because he's finally married and having regular intimacy. He doesn't find intimacy stuff as exciting anymore, now that it's not really forbidden. We're both religious, so we were raised with the mindset that sex masturbating is a sin. He says he used to self-intimacy to corn 3 to 4 times a week. So it's hard for me to believe that he can now go 2 weeks with absolutely nothing, not even making out, and be fine. I'm tired of being constantly aroused and frustrated. I finally suggested that maybe his testosterone levels are low, and asked if he could see a doctor about it. There are other signs besides his lack of interest in intimacy, such as not being able to grow a beard and gaining weight easily. I didn't mention these factors to him, though. He refused and said he worries upping his testosterone will make his already present anger issues much worse. I'm not worried about that as much as he is, and honestly, I'll take anger issues over lack of intimacy any day. I brought up testosterone levels again the other day. He got upset and told me to stop suggesting it. He says he's aware that his intimacy drive is lower than mine and is insecure about it. But he won't take initiative to fix this disparity when I'm trying everything I can think of. I try not to make him feel bad about it, and I always respect his consent. But I just wish he would work with me, to find a solution at least. I also worry that I might be the one with an abnormally high intimacy drive, and that maybe I just need to work on myself. I just don't know how. I've read that women's intimacy drives increase with age, but men's decrease with age, and I worry the disparity will only get worse. Please advise. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Saying that you will take anger issues over lack of intimacy any day is crazy. Anyway, stop forcing your husband into wanting intimacy when he obviously doesn't. There could be multiple reasons why he doesn't, but that's valid. You guys just aren't sexually compatible. Comment 2. Understanding your needs is so important. There is no way to force your husband to want more intimacy. If you feel this way now, don't expect it to get better as you age. You want different things from this relationship. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, things have been pretty rough lately. Just 3 days ago, I thought I had a breakthrough and my husband agreed to try scheduling intimacy. But then, he bailed last minute, saying he had a work emergency. I was left feeling rejected and foolish for getting my hopes up. The next day, I tried talking to him again, but he shut down the conversation. He said he felt pressured and that I was obsessed. It stung, but I couldn't deny the ache for closeness that seemed to consume my thoughts. I remembered then how back in college, I was always the one in my friend group who never seemed interested in the guys we met at parties. I'd laugh off their advances, content with the idea of waiting for marriage. My friends would tease me, calling me a sleeping volcano. And they weren't wrong. Once I got married, it was like all that pent-up desire erupted, and now I can't seem to find a way to turn it off. Yesterday, I reached out to a friend from those college days, hoping for some support. She suggested something that felt like a betrayal to even consider: finding satisfaction outside my marriage. I recoiled at the thought, but it planted a seed of desperation. Today, that seed sprouted into a terrible argument. My husband found a message from my friend on my phone. He accused me of considering cheating, and I couldn't fully deny it. The trust between us fractured in that moment. I tried to explain my loneliness, my craving for affection, but it only made things worse. He stormed out, and I was left alone, wrestling with guilt and longing. I wanted to chase after him, to apologize, to fix things, but I also wanted to scream at him for not seeing my pain. Hours later, he came back, and we sat in silence. The air was thick with things unsaid. He finally spoke, suggesting we take a break from each other. My heart sank. I never wanted to push him away. I just wanted him to pull me closer. So now, I'm packing a bag, heading to stay with a friend for a while. I'm leaving behind the man I love because I couldn't suppress my desires, and he couldn't confront his own indifference. It's a mess, and I'm scared this break is the first step towards a life I never wanted, one without him. Thanks for reading. My ex-boyfriend accuses me of being fake and spreads lies, so I cut him out of my life and watch him lose our mutual friends, one by one. My ex-boyfriend is currently one of my best friends. We met back in 2018, but didn't start dating until last year. We only dated for 6 months, until he came out as gay to me, and then to everyone else in October. I wasn't upset or anything because whatever, so we continue to be extremely close. I haven't been in a relationship with anyone since we broke up, so this behavior from him hasn't happened up until now. So my ex and I went to this gathering with some friends, and there was this guy there that came up to me and asked me for my name and if he could have my phone number. He and I were just talking and hanging out with each other for the majority of the time and taking shots together and stuff. So I'm looking around and I noticed that I don't see my ex. I figured he went to the bathroom, so I waited a few minutes and still didn't see him. So I asked our friends if they knew where he was, and they said he went to the car. So I texted him and asked what he was doing. No response. I tried to FaceTime him. No response. I waited a few more minutes, then went out to the car to check on him and make sure he wasn't sick from drinking or something. So I go out to the car, and he's just sitting in there. So I knocked on the driver's window, and he doesn't answer me. I just kept knocking, and he would not acknowledge me at all. So then the group of people we came with started to come out of the house, and they said that he texted them and told them he was ready to go. So we got in the car and left. He did not speak to me or anyone at all in the car. So I got dropped off at home, and then I just went off on him through text, basically telling him I don't know what the frick his problem was. But I didn't do anything to him, and that he needs to open his mouth if he has an issue with me, because it's childish. He sent me a text basically saying that I was evil and inconsiderate for flirting with someone else in front of his face, and that I don't care about his feelings. He said he feels like I did it on purpose to hurt him, and that I was trying to get back at him for coming out and pretended like I don't care when I do. He also said that I don't care about him and I'm not genuine towards him. I'm just like, what the frick? You are gay. What feelings? You don't even like women. I didn't even get this upset at him when he pretended to be into me for 6 months. I'm so dumbfounded and confused, and I don't even know what to say back. How do we even go from here? How are we supposed to be friends if he gets upset when I'm with other people, but he's gay? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sounds like he's probably bisexual and possessive of you. Sexuality isn't as black and white as we want it to be, sadly. He needs to do some soul searching to figure out what he wants. He's allowed to feel weird about you flirting, but he's lost his right to be upset or mad when you all broke up, whether you're gay or not. Comment 2. Is he single, and are you his last relationship? I kind of wonder if he hasn't let go of seeing you as a romantic partner, even if he is gay. He could be biromantic and homosexual. Romantic feelings and intimacy ones don't have to match gender. It's not always that simple. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. Things have escalated since then. After that text, I didn't reply. I needed space to think. But he didn't stop there. A few days later, he posted a photo of us from when we were dating, with a long caption about how much he missed what we had. It felt like a slap in the face. People started messaging me, asking if we were back together, and I had to set the record straight. No, we were not. I confronted him about the post. He claimed it was a moment of weakness, that he was nostalgic. But nostalgia doesn't excuse messing with someone's head. I told him that. He got defensive, said I was overreacting. That's when I knew this couldn't go on. The next day, I heard from a friend that he'd been spreading rumors about me, saying I was the one who couldn't move on, that I was jealous of his new freedom. I couldn't believe it. This was the guy who was supposed to be my best friend, who knew my secrets, my insecurities, and now he was using them against me? I decided to confront him at another friend's party. I wanted to clear the air once and for all, but when I got there, I found him in the middle of a crowd, laughing, as if he hadn't a care in the world. I pulled him aside, asked him why he was lying about me. He just shrugged and said, "It's not a big deal. People will forget about it soon." That was the last straw. I told him we were done. No more friendship, no more late-night talks, no more pretending everything was okay. He looked shocked, like he hadn't expected me to stand up for myself. But I was done being walked over. I walked away from him, from the party, from the whole mess. It was hard, but it was necessary. I blocked his number, his social media, everything. It was like cutting off a limb. But sometimes you have to remove what's hurting you to heal. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.